What was the biggest help in treating Owen's knee owie? I've been dealing with a knee owie myself for about a year now, and I'm frustrated with the lack of. I'm glad owie has taken off. I'm very glad
Yeah.
it's because it's a funny word. So number one, the biggest thing I did, the most important thing I did to fix my knee owie and still stay on top of it, was I went and sought someone who was very good at their job, a medical professional, and very luckily, through sheer just absolute luck, I happened to be able to contact Dr. Aaron Horschig, Squat University, and he was able to help me. So that's the most important thing. Go see a good professional. Rehabbing injuries shouldn't be in the same ballpark as strength training and coaching and stuff in your head. You should think of rehabbing injuries and stuff as a different sector in your head. It'll be the most effective way of going about fixing it. Go find people who are good at it. That was the most important thing I did in terms of like all the actions I took. You can spend so long as you have, like you're saying, about a year, trying frustrated lack of progress. Going finding someone who's a very good professional, online or otherwise, and trying to figure out what it is you need to do and what they can help you with is the most important thing and the best thing I did. Now the specifics. Sorry, I don't know. I feel like
You're really out of breath.
no, something is trying to swallow something. Um, so the most important thing I did in terms of like fixing my knee injury was the hip mobility stuff I needed. So I was lacking. So I had a hip mobility imbalance from side to side. So I had like more external rotation on one side and more internal rotation on the other side. And then I had poor coordination. Well, not poor coordination, but glutes that could have been, dare I say, woken up more active, just a little bit more used. So I did a lot of hip mobility stuff, and then single leg touchdowns every day, twice a day are some of the best things I've done for my knee pain. But the thing I've noticed is, and I was saying this fits recently, I slacked off my rehab. So eventually you get to a stage where your rehab comes back around and you heal your injury, and your rehab is now your prehab, and it's very important to keep doing your prehab for as long as months and months and months after, for as long as you think you need to do it. So I got back around in that circle, so my rehab eventually became my prehab, and then I slacked off for a few weeks, and my knees got kind of sore again. I started training pretty hard again. So most part for me is stay on top of my hip mobility and keep doing the exercises that I need to do every day. But they might not be what it is you need to do. My best recommendation is, if you can't go see someone, Rebuilding Milo is a phenomenal book, and it's the best resource, and I use it just weekly with my athletes, or they've just bought it themselves now because it's easier, it's faster for them to just go read the book. So Rebuilding Milo is phenomenal. Weird, Squat University gets a lot of slack for some reason. People like to take a shot at the big dog because he's the most popular.
Does he? Do they?
Yeah, you see it. People like to be like, people like to take shots at him, but they're
Oh, actually, I know who you're talking about.
but their shots are, but it's very common, like,
Yeah.
but their shots are like never really specific. They're never really like anything he says. They just kind of give out about him. But you're
Yeah.
like, come to the table and help people fix their injuries. Because I don't see those people taking shots at him. I don't see those people doing that.
No.
So most important thing, find someone who is on the ball, who knows what they're doing. I've luckily found, I think I found a good physio near home.
Yeah.
So
I there's definitely a chartered physiotherapist or a good physical therapist near you.
they're out there.
They're out there.
Yeah.
You just need to go and spend the money and do the dance. Okay, so Toby's, I assume he's talking about Alwyn Jones. He
Yeah, it was this week.
dislocated his shoulder back in a matter of weeks.
Wales Online said it was a remarkable recovery, so that's saying
Yeah,
something.
but there's something really interesting about rugby players dislocating their shoulders, right? So loads of rugby players dislocate their shoulders multiple times, and they get a reconstructive surgery done. When people pop their shoulders, so if Gerf popped his shoulder now, right, having not popped his shoulder before, the amount of damage and the amount of accumulative inflammation that would go on in his shoulder would be gigantic. If you have somebody who's had a shoulder reconstruction, they popped it multiple times, they pop it out, pop it back in, they could play in the same afternoon.
Yeah, I've a lifter whose shoulder randomly dislocates, and then he'll finish the rest of the session.
Yeah, so it's not like his injury wasn't serious. I'm sure his injury is really serious,
Yeah.
and I don't know the specifics of this situation, but that is just a funny thing about rugby and shoulder dislocations. I went to school with a guy who in PE class dislocated his right shoulder playing Olympic handball, throwing a ball into a net, dislocates his shoulder. Then PE teacher sends him down to the principal's office, and he says you have to ring home and get your mom to collect you. So his shoulder's dislocated, and the principal said, "Geez, how'd you dislocate your shoulder playing Olympic handball?" And he says, "Well," and he picks up his other hand. He goes, "I was throwing a ball into a net."
No, he didn't.
And dislocated his second shoulder.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Okay, would you ever recommend weightlifting gloves for somebody with a wrist palm issue? Broke your wrist 2 years ago, palm pain while pressing. Absolutely not. Stay away from, like, if you're somebody who broke their wrist, right? Firstly, you need to make sure you're asking two lads who currently have wrist issues. Firstly, you need to make sure that the wrist itself is fully rehabbed and you no longer have pain in it. If you continue to have pain with it when going back to normal activities, then you need to go back to your physician or to your surgeon or to your consultant and whoever helped you get your broken wrist fixed in the first place. What you do then after that is you lift with no supports. So when you're wearing a wrist strap or a glove or straps or whatever it is, you're just covering over an already weakened joint. The more you cover it over, the more weak it's going to become. So it'd be like if I had knee issues and I wore knee support for all of my rehab work and all of my squatting from now on, what I would then do is I would further weaken the knee joint and make it more likely that it will become injured again at some point in the future. You should be staying away from supports and just keeping to loadings that don't cause pain and exercises that don't cause pain.